If I told you that the life you've been living for years doesn't actually belong to you, would you be upset? Or would you simply bow your head and say, I know? You smiled even when you were exhausted, just so others would be satisfied. You silenced what was overflowing inside you because the fear of not being loved had settled deep within. You said, I'm fine, even when you were broken. You suppressed your own desires just to be accepted. You hid your true self because someone might disapprove, and through this effort, you unknowingly drifted away from who you really are. But when nobody is watching, who are you really? While living in the shadow of others' expectations, didn't you numb your own desires? Didn't you lose yourself trying not to disturb anyone? Didn't you fade away step by step on the path to acceptance? But today, everything can change. Today is the day to break those old patterns. Today is the day to return to yourself. In this video, the ancient wisdom of Stoic philosophy will show you how to embrace solitude without fear, not as a weakness, but as a source of power. And through Stoicism, you'll learn step by step how to build a new life centered around you. You don't need anyone's permission to be yourself. To feel whole, you only need one thing: the decision to stop living a borrowed life. Are you ready? But before we begin, prepare to be shaken by a question that perhaps no one has ever asked you before. It's the kind of question that, the moment you hear it, can bring everything you've been suppressing to the surface. But be careful. This question cannot be expressed in words. That's why, in the story you're about to hear, you need to find this question yourself. Because each of us has a different question, but in this video, everyone will find their own answer. Yasmin's story. Her name was Yasmin, a 43-year-old woman working in a flower shop. That small shop was a place everyone in the neighborhood stopped by, but no one truly saw who was inside. Every morning, she opened the store at the same time. Every day, with the same routine, she watered the flowers. Silent, clean, organized, everything in its place. Just like her life. From the outside, it might look like a beautiful life, surrounded by colorful flowers, the scent of soil in the air. But inside, something was missing. Something important: Yasmin's voice. She had never made a single decision for herself in her life. When high school ended, she wanted to go to university, but they said, your sister is getting married. Your mother needs your help. Then her father got sick. She took care of him. Then came the household expenses. Then she inherited the shop. She married a man because she was called a good girl, and because of the pressure. But it didn't end well. And so, the years slipped away. One day, a customer walked into the shop. A middle-aged man. His face tired, his voice hoarse. I need a funeral bouquet, he said. Yasmin began preparing something classic and simple. But the man stopped her. Make it different, he said. Not about death, but about life. Something that doesn't just remember her, but celebrates her. Yasmin's hands continued to work, but she suddenly stopped. What does it mean to create a bouquet that celebrates life? Everything she had ever done was always according to expectations, norms, convention. But what did celebrating life even look like? As the man was leaving, he said something that would make Yasmin question her entire existence. Please prepare it, as if you were making it for yourself. That day, she picked up the flowers one by one. She wandered in indecision. Colorful roses, dried lavender, firm branches, a huge orange tulip. Honestly, none of the flowers matched each other, but strangely, they all belonged together. The bouquet was a bit messy, a bit rule-breaking, but it was sincere. For the first time, she had made something not according to a mold, but from the heart. And for the first time, she felt proud looking at that bouquet. When the customer returned, he didn't say much. He just smiled, took the bouquet, and quietly walked out the door. But something inside Yasmin had broken, or perhaps for the first time, it was beginning to bloom. That night, she came across a quote from a man named Marcus Aurelius. Dig within. The fountain of good lies within, and it will forever bubble up if you forever dig. Yasmin froze, because she realized, for years, she had been waiting for someone to come, see her, and say she mattered. But actually, everyone except herself had already seen her. What was really missing was her own gaze. From that day on, every morning when she opened the shop, she prepared a bouquet. But this time, not for the window display, for herself. Some days simple, some days overflowing, some days wildly mixed. But each one belonged only to her. Yasmin still lives on the same street, in the same shop. But inside, someone else is living now. Because once you dare to ask yourself, what do I want? Even silence begins to bloom. 1. Are you living or just conforming? Answer honestly. Have you ever laughed when you didn't really want to? Stayed somewhere just to not seem weird? Said yes to something you didn't want just to avoid disappointing someone? If the answer to these questions is yes, you're not living. You're just conforming. Conforming might sound pleasant, but the cost is heavy. You start to shrink yourself. You push aside your tastes, your ideas, even who you are. And at some point, you can't even tell anymore whether you truly want the things you do. Because you've been playing a role for so long that you've forgotten your real desires. Psychologist and identity expert Rafa Gar explains this very clearly. He says, when we don't have a solid, well-constructed identity, we constantly look outward to understand how to behave. And that's when it happens. Others become your compass. They determine what you wear, what you think, what you read, what you love. Others start living your life for you. You drift away from yourself without even realizing it. Because you're trying to embark on a journey that's uniquely yours with someone else's map. So how do you break this cycle? Look at Epictetus. Yes, that Stoic philosopher who was a slave his entire life, but understood the true meaning of freedom. He never had physical freedom, but he grasped something crucial. True freedom begins in the mind. Epictetus said, if you want to be free, stop desiring things beyond your control. And he was absolutely right. Because as long as you need approval, craving recognition, seeking validation, worrying, am I doing the right thing? You don't live for yourself. You become enslaved to others' gazes, comments, and silences. But here's the most important point. This Stoic teaching isn't just a beautiful quote. It's the real key to inner peace. Because only when you free yourself from the need for approval can you hear your own voice. Only when you stop conforming can you begin to live a truly authentic life. And only when you abandon the search for validation do you discover the most valuable thing. You don't need anyone to be complete. 2. Your biggest opponent is you. Imagine you're on an obstacle course. In front of you, a giant wall, a slippery rope, a narrow tunnel. At every step, someone appears in your path, blocking your way. Every time you're about to pass, they jump in front of you. You can't see their face, just a silhouette. This makes the desperation even worse. You try to get past them. You change direction, but it's useless. At every turn, they're there again. Sweat drips down your back. Your breath shortens. Inside, you're just saying, I just want a little space. Just an opportunity. But no. And finally, you see their face. The person standing in your way is you. You've been the one creating those obstacles all along. Now you might be saying, but how can I be blocking myself when I want to be myself? Yes, there were people in your past who held you back. But let's be honest. The one who stopped you most was always your own voice. You set the biggest barriers for yourself. Because the greatest obstacle isn't what's outside. It's the voice speaking inside. Remember Javier Iriondo's words. A former athlete knows what it means to battle yourself. He didn't write that sentence to look good in a book. He lived it. That inner voice, if you don't unmask it, will take control of your life. Stop for a moment and ask yourself, why haven't you signed up for that course yet? Why haven't you started that project? Why haven't you taken up that sport? Did you really not have time? Or did you have an excuse? Needing to help someone? Needing to catch up on something? You always labeled these as responsibilities. But do you know what was hidden beneath? Fear. Fear of not being perfect. Fear of failure. Fear of disappointing yourself. This is exactly where Marcus Aurelius comes in. Your soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you feed your mind daily with doubt, procrastination, and I'll do it later, your soul begins to live in postponement and resignation. What's the first step in learning to live for yourself without depending on others? Recognizing that internal resistance, facing it, and making decisions yourself, not letting it decide for you. Remember, this battle isn't against others. It's against that small voice inside you, the part that wants everything but doesn't want to move from its spot. And I'm not exaggerating. Learning to recognize this part is the biggest key to inner peace. Next time you say, I can't, quietly add, or I don't want to try hard enough. This sentence might sound painful, but it confronts you with reality. It takes you to the truth behind the excuses. Yes, it can hurt, but it sets you free. One last piece of advice. Do something only you would love, but truly just you. Something you wouldn't post on social media, something you'd be afraid others might mock. Play the drums, paint rocks, watch documentaries, do a puzzle to 90s music. Whatever it is, make it yours. And don't postpone it. Do it this week. Even today, 10 minutes is enough. Because waiting for the perfect moment is the classic trap of your inner saboteur. It offers you a promise of later, but that never comes. You don't need to conquer the world. You just need to silence that voice inside you that stops you. And when you accomplish that, you'll feel truly free for the first time. 3. Hear what your body is screaming at you. When did you forget that your body can speak? Perhaps when you woke up with a headache one morning, or when something felt tight inside and you dismissed it as insomnia. When you saw your body not as a carrier, but as a machine that should do its job. When you just kept going without understanding it was tired, without acknowledging its signals. But the body doesn't stay silent. It speaks in feelings instead of words. And when you try to suppress it with your mind, your body starts shouting to wake you up. Tension, palpitations, a knotted stomach, chest tightness that makes you forget to breathe. All of these are screams saying, notice me. In short, some things you can't say with your tongue, but your body speaks. More accurately, it first whispers. If you don't listen, it shouts. Last holiday, I experienced a moment that's the most striking example of this. I lived in the same neighborhood for nearly 30 years. We were right next door since I was born. Our neighbor was like a mother to my mom. Her son was always like a big brother to me. He came in and out of our house. We ate at the same table. We grew up together. About 4 years ago, his wife passed away. After that, her son, the person I'd called big brother since childhood, returned to his old habit, drugs. Then, due to some choices he made, he went to prison. He's still there. During a holiday, I went to visit our neighbor. When she opened the door, my chest immediately tightened, because that familiar look was gone. She didn't stop smiling, but when I looked closely at her face, I noticed a weight behind her eyes. It was as if someone breathing in her body wasn't there. Instead, years of silence pain lived there. We talked, drank tea, spoke of old times. But in that moment, I realized the woman never said, I'm sad. She never said, I can't bear it. But her shoulders had collapsed. Her walk was slow. There was a slight tremor in her hands. And it was as if with every movement, while trying to say I'm fine, her body was screaming, I'm not fine at all. That's when I remembered this again. Don't think people aren't suffering just because they're not crying. Pain deepens most when it's not expressed, but stored in the body. The body isn't just a carrier. It's the first witness to every emotion you suppress. Every silence, every postponed rebellion, every would have swallowed down, all of it accumulates. And if you don't even try to notice, one day it will speak for you. With fatigue, with pain, with illness, with burnout. The Stoics weren't wrong about this. Seneca said, the body must be treated seriously so that the mind can obey it. But remember, making it obey doesn't mean suppressing it. True strength is being able to listen to your body. So how do you learn to hear your body? At the end of the day, do a simple body scan. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, where in my body do I feel tension? What event today might have triggered this discomfort? Answer this with feeling, not logic. Because sometimes your body realizes what's happening before your mind does. And stop giving the automatic, I'm fine answer. Do a real internal check. How's my chest right now? Are my shoulders loose or tight? Is my stomach comfortable or clenched? Because if you don't know how you are, you can't know what you need either. You don't need to be an expert at this. Approach your body not like a vehicle, but like someone you value. Because your body isn't just a carrier. It's the most honest guide on your inner journey. Remember, the body is like a GPS. If you ignore its warnings, you'll find yourself somewhere you don't want to be. But if you listen to it, perhaps you'll finally arrive where you want to be, to yourself. 4. Learn to be alone, but not with emptiness. A table for one. A tray with your favorite meal. A movie you've wanted to watch for a long time. And nobody around. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But for many people, this idea is terrifying. The reason isn't that someone is missing. The real issue is not knowing what to do when silence comes. Some people carry everything, solve others' lives, but don't know how to keep themselves company. They laugh when they're with others, but can't stand being alone. They spend hours on video calls, but can't go 5 minutes without looking at their phones. Of course, being with people isn't a bad thing. But what's dangerous is feeling incomplete when you're alone. Because if you can't handle yourself, your internal integrity might be broken. Actor Keanu Reeves knows this well. Though he's associated with Hollywood and success, his life is full of tragedies. He lost his daughter, his partner, and his closest friend. But he still learned to find solace in solitude, not punishment. You can see him walking alone, sitting on a bench, eating alone. But he doesn't look lost. On the contrary, he has a peaceful presence, because he learned to be with himself. And that's almost a superpower in this age. Recently, I came across a sentence by psychologist Sylvia Congest. Loneliness doesn't hurt. What hurts is not being able to be with yourself. My skin prickled, because Epictetus said the same thing centuries ago. Someone who values themselves never feels lonely. If you know who you are, if you've established a healthy connection with yourself, when you're alone, you don't feel emptiness, you feel wholeness. Because being with yourself is enough for you. Imagine yourself in this situation, the last day of the week. You've left a long week behind. Maybe you worked, maybe you got tired at home, maybe you're just mentally exhausted. You have an empty evening ahead. That familiar restlessness quietly approaches. Should I call someone? Go out? Distract myself with something? But what if this time you did nothing? What if you just sat in your favorite cafe, ordered yourself a tea or coffee, then opened a book or pulled out a notebook from your pocket and wrote whatever came to mind? Just to hear yourself, not to tell anyone anything. The first time might feel uncomfortable, but after a few times, something starts to change. You start to get used to yourself. And that's exactly when you take another step closer to the secret of inner peace. A small exercise. Make a list of activities you love. Walking, watching old movies, trying a new recipe, go to bookstore, taking photos, drinking coffee in silence. Whatever it is, let them be things that make you happy. And this week, choose one of them. But do it for yourself, not with someone else. Think of it as a date with yourself. No excuses, and not just to have done it. Pay attention to yourself during that time. Do you feel weird? Insecure? Like you're being judged? Observe these feelings, because every time you cross that threshold, you're exercising your freedom muscles. You're learning to be on your own. Do it once a week. Write it in your calendar, not as a patch, but as a priority, because this isn't just a habit. This is an act of self-love. And one day, when that familiar feeling of emptiness comes again, remind yourself, you don't need anyone to feel whole. The only thing you need is to be at peace with yourself. Because once you find peace in your own presence, you no longer search for a place in crowds trying to comfort you. From that moment on, you truly begin to live for yourself. 5. Use your hands. Calm your soul. Imagine you're in a wooden cabin, in the middle of a forest. Outside, it's lightly raining. Inside is silent. On the table is a piece of clay or a cutting board. Maybe a pencil. No rush. Just you. You use your hands, and without even realizing it, something begins to take shape. In that moment, everything stops. The world stops pulling at you. And yes, this isn't magic. This is presence. When you create something with your hands, an effect occurs that few things can achieve. You meet yourself again. Not the version others expect from you, but your real self. And in that pause, in that focus, you unknowingly begin to live for yourself. This is where the secret of inner peace begins. Sometimes we think peace comes with great achievements. But what if the calm you're seeking isn't in a trip or a book, but in peeling potatoes, painting clumsily, or sewing on a button? I know it doesn't sound epic, but it's the truth. I didn't know either until one day I kneaded dough for a recipe without rushing. During that half hour, there was nothing else in my mind. No anxiety, no social media, no dramatic thoughts. Just my flour-covered hands, living dough, and finally, my mind silent. That's when I understood what Seneca meant. We take care of what's in our hands. The rest is beyond our control. Meaning, when you create something, you take back control over yourself. Not from the world, not from others, but from yourself. This is an act of freedom, because in that moment you're saying, this belongs to me. I'm doing this. I chose this. And that simple connection begins to heal you. So do you want to rest your soul by making things with your hands too? First step, try different things. Don't try to find your passion right away. Just start with what's at hand. Do you want to draw even though you draw badly? Draw. Make candles, cook, sew something, work with soil. Whatever interests you, try it. But there's one clear rule: no phone nearby. If you're doing macrame while watching TikTok, I'm sorry, but that doesn't count. Let me give you a technique: anti-anxiety production method. Choose a craft you love. Play calming music. Close your door and engage with it for 30 minutes. Without thinking, does it look good? Does it work? Will someone else like it? The result doesn't matter. The process matters. Because when the body moves, the mind's noise quiets. And that's when the power is yours. And if you're thinking, but I'm not good at any of this, let me tell you something. None of us were born mastering anything, but we were all born suited to create. You don't need to be an artist. You don't need to make money from it or show it to others. Just give yourself permission, because creating is also healing. It's a way of taking care of yourself. And if you've been looking for peace, focus, and clarity for a long time, start here. When you start using your hands for yourself, your soul no longer has to scream, because you finally start to hear it. 6. Who's really making your decisions? I'm sorry, but I need to tell you this plainly. You're living your life as if you're holding the steering wheel, but someone else is driving. As if you're steering, but you're actually just reacting to what's happening. As if the important decisions have already been made. All that's left for you is to say, what can I do? It's fate. But wait, is it really? Or is this just what you've been told? Because many people think they're choosing their own lives, but they're actually just submitting to their family, their friends, their partner, society's expectations, the fear of what people will say. They study majors that don't interest them, work jobs they hate, keep meeting with people who drain them. And all of this without questioning it. As speaker Borja Villaseca says, maturing is realizing that no one is coming to save you. And that's good news. Yes, it might hurt at first, because you being in the driver's seat means if you're on the wrong road, you have to change direction. But the truth is, you only start living for yourself when you take back control. And no, this isn't selfishness. As Epictetus said, nothing external has power over you unless you give it. So if you give power to others, how can you find inner peace? So where should you start? My first suggestion, try a radical day. Today, live only for yourself. Wear what you want to wear. Eat what you feel like eating. Talk to whoever you want to talk to. Spend your time however you want. And at the end of the day, ask yourself, did I feel uncomfortable or did I feel free? Second step, decision X-ray. Take paper and pen. Write down 3 major decisions you've made recently. Moving, changing jobs, ending, or starting a relationship. Then next to each one, honestly write, did I want this? Or were others expecting it, guiding it, pressuring it? And here's another method that's a bit crazy but works. Flip a coin, but not to follow the result. To understand how you feel. As the coin falls, pay attention to what you're secretly hoping for, heads or tails. Because that instant internal reaction shows you the truth. Your body knows before your mind does. If you're still undecided, ask this question. If I choose this path, where will it take me in 10 years? And more importantly, who chose this path? The answer to this question might shake you, but it can also give you wings. The point isn't always finding the right answer. The point is being able to choose. Because even if you make a mistake, at least that mistake is yours. It's far better to fall on your own path than to walk with regret on a road others opened for you. If today you make even one small decision for yourself, you take another step toward a life that belongs to you. And believe me, that too is peace. The peace of living with your own decisions. 7. Change the voice you speak to yourself with. I need to tell you a painful truth. You are merciless. But not to others, to yourself. You're soft with others. Understanding, patient, forgiving. But when it comes to you, you turn into a ruthless judge. When you make a mistake, you immediately pick up the whip. I can never do anything right. I always make the same mistakes. I'm truly incompetent. This has happened to almost all of us. You go into a store. You have two very clear things in mind, bread and eggs. I'll just grab these and leave, you say. But when you get to the checkout, your basket is full. Chips, wafers, a box of chocolates, a mug whose color you liked, even a room spray you don't need at all. And just as you're leaving, you realize you got neither bread nor eggs. And that's when your inner voice starts. How could you forget exactly those? You're truly useless. Always the same. Now you might be smiling, because this might have happened to you too. But if someone from outside spoke to you like that, what would you do? You'd block them, stay away, set boundaries, wouldn't you? But because that voice comes from inside, you quietly accept it. But you shouldn't, because every word you say to yourself shapes your world. And when every sentence is a blow, you can't build peace. Imagine Marcus Aurelius opening his morning journal and writing, "I'm a complete disaster. Today will be bad too. Nobody understands me." Can you imagine? Of course not, because he knew that peace depends not on the external world, but on your internal interpretation. That's why he wrote, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." Your internal language determines not only your mood, but also your behavior and performance. If every time you try something you tell yourself, "I can't do it anyway, I'll definitely mess it up," how can motivation, confidence, and energy come? This isn't about artificial affirmations like, "I can do anything." It's about treating yourself the way you would treat someone you love, because you deserve respect too. So what can you do to change that voice? I suggest an exercise, mirror dialogue. Short but effective. Look in the mirror, even your phone camera works, and say to yourself the things you'd say to your best friend. Forgetting is human. You deserve to rest today. You're doing the best you can. Then think, how different are these words from what you normally say to yourself? Another technique, change the narrator. What if your life was narrated by Morgan Freeman, your grandmother, or your wiser future self? Imagine a voice that describes what you're experiencing with love, without judgment. When the tone changes, the story changes too. And yes, changing that inner voice isn't easy. But hasn't the time come to give it a vacation? At least shouldn't you feed that voice a little less coffee? Because that constant tension, that automatic judgment, that criticism dressed up as growth, it's not serving you. It's only distancing you from what you need most. Peace, calm, self-love. 8. Stop carrying burdens you no longer need. A legend is told. Years ago, two monks were walking silently toward their temple. They'd been on the road for days. When they reached a river, they encountered a woman in elegant clothes, too anxious to cross the rushing river. The young monk stepped back. According to their spiritual path, physical contact with women was forbidden. But the older monk didn't hesitate. He picked up the woman, crossed the river, and set her down on the other side. Without saying anything, they continued on their way. Hours passed. They walked through forests, climbed mountains, descended into valleys. As darkness began to fall, the young monk finally exploded. How could you pick up that woman? It's forbidden. You broke the rules. The older monk stopped and looked at him, with a slight smile on his face, calmly saying, "I left that woman hours ago at the riverbank, but you're still carrying her. Did you notice? The one who actually picked her up had already let go, but the one who never touched her was still carrying her in his mind." In life, things like this happen. Something might have passed long ago, but you're still carrying it on your shoulders. An unspoken word, an unlived courage, an insult you heard, or a choice you didn't make. I can guess, you're still blaming yourself for something you did years ago, or for something you didn't do. Maybe something someone said to you still echoes in your mind. "I'm inadequate. I always make mistakes. I can never do it." And you're not just carrying your own burdens. You're carrying what others left behind too. Do you know what that means? Giving up on yourself. Because every moment you choose to carry the weight of the past, you refuse to make room for the new. And you're saying, "At least this is familiar, even if it hurts. I'll stay with it." Seneca was very clear on this. We dare not do many things because we think they're difficult. But they're not difficult. They become difficult because we don't dare. And letting go is exactly that kind of thing. But once you dare, you realize the weight wasn't as heavy as you thought. What's crushing you isn't the past. It's your refusal to let it go. So what can you do? First, write down everything that's pulling you down without filtering. It could be a person, a memory, a belief, guilt, all of it. Then next to each one, write this question. Is this moving me forward or pulling me back? If the answer is pulling me back, start distancing yourself. You don't need to uproot it completely, but stop feeding it. Second step, create a farewell ritual. It might seem symbolic, but it works. Write a letter to that old thing, that past, that burden. Pour your heart out, but not to send it, to empty yourself. Then burn it, tear it up, bury it. Whatever you want. The body wants physical signs to understand. I've let go now. And one last shift in perspective. Instead of saying, why can't I let go? Ask, if I let go, what space opens up? Because things that no longer serve you don't just take your past. They take your energy, your focus, and your clarity. Sometimes letting something go isn't losing it. It's reclaiming the space it stole from you. Letting go takes courage. Because it's not about erasing something. It's about believing you can be okay without it. Trusting you can continue without it. And that's one of the most forgotten secrets of inner peace. You don't need to carry everything with you. Only carry what serves you well, what moves you forward. 9. Stay with those who give you peace, not those who create noise. Think of your life as a great journey. Throughout the day, you encounter people, you talk, you listen, but not every encounter adds something to you. Some do you good, relax you, leave a smile on your face. When you're with them, you feel lighter, more real, stronger. But there are others who, without you even realizing it, drain you. After every conversation with them, something inside you diminishes. Your confidence shakes. Your patience runs out. Your joy in living decreases. It's not what they say. It's how they make you feel that weighs heavy. When you leave them, you're tired, you're sad, but you can't even fully explain why. The truth is, not every company is good company. You've surely felt more alone, more exhausted in crowds. Because not every relationship is valuable. Sometimes the greatest love is being able to set a healthy distance. Now, imagine, you're meeting an acquaintance. You don't want to, but you say yes because they'll be hurt, they'll misunderstand. You go. The conversations are familiar. Same problems, same insinuations, half-finished sentences. You find yourself trying to explain things, but all you're thinking is, what am I still doing here? A Stoic knows this. Inner peace begins with properly filtering external voices. If your environment is stormy, your inside can never calm down. So if you want to start living for yourself, the first step should be to review your surroundings. Do a simple test. Think of the 5 people you communicated with most this week. Quickly write their names and next to them, in one word, how they made you feel. Do they give you energy or do they tire you? The answer might hurt, but it also opens your eyes. And remember, you don't have to answer every message. If someone isn't good for you, don't respond immediately. Turn off the phone. Give yourself a day. Sometimes even a few hours of distance can change your mood. Because being constantly available is slowly losing your own space. Also remember this. Not everyone who enters your life has to stay there. Use a Stoic filter. Who makes you feel good? Who takes from you? After talking with whom, do you feel refreshed? After talking with whom, do you feel drained? This isn't just about friends. It's about family members, old friends, groups that no longer reflect you. Every relationship you maintain out of guilt or habit distances you a little more from yourself. And I'm guessing as you listen to these words, a name has already come to mind. Because talking to some people really is like running a marathon. That's not love. That's emotional cardio. And you're not here for that. You don't have to maintain relationships that exhaust you. You should build connections that bring you closer to yourself, that do you good inside, that strengthen you. And this is one of the most important secrets of inner peace. 10. Not everyone deserves a place in your mind. Think of your mind as a house, but not just any house. Your most sacred space that holds your dreams, your ideas, your doubts, and your peace. Now ask yourself this question. Would you open the door of this house to everyone? Would you invite in someone who comes with muddy shoes, shouting, with criticisms and complaints? But that's exactly what you're doing. Every time you replay someone's empty criticism in your head over and over. Every time you carry a passive-aggressive comment all day. Every time you give importance to words from someone who doesn't value you, as if they were truth itself, you're pulling up a chair for them in your mind. And they don't even have any responsibility. And no, this doesn't mean you should close your ears to everything. Ignore every comment. But you need a filter, because not every word deserves analysis. Not every opinion deserves consideration. As Marcus Aurelius said, watch carefully each day what you think, like watching over a sacred fire. Because if everyone blows on that fire, eventually it goes out. Some time ago, I read a story shared by a girl on social media. She used to send messages to her partner every hour asking where they were. Why didn't you write? Did you forget me? Are you angry? There was no malice in her intention, but at its root was great anxiety and fear of abandonment. She believed if she controlled everything, she wouldn't be abandoned. But in the end, that person left her, and silence remained. In that silence, in that emptiness, the girl realized something. Her mind had been filled with someone else's voice for years. She had completely rented out her inner space to someone else. And the most shocking part, while others' voices dominated my mind, I never left room for myself. That's what living for yourself is. It's not just moving alone. It's also choosing what you let into your mind. And that's one of the real secrets of inner peace. Let me clarify with an example. Imagine you're home alone, peaceful. You post a photo of yourself eating ice cream. Then someone writes, then you'll complain about gaining weight. And suddenly, that ice cream drops inside you. It sits in your stomach like a stone. Learn to do this in that moment. Take a deep breath. See that message as just another notification. Scroll past it. Don't engage in an argument. Don't explain yourself. And especially, don't carry in your mind all day. Because your inner peace is far more valuable than giving a clever response. One more method. When you hear that criticism gnawing at you, ask yourself, is this person paying rent in my mind? Do they have a real place in my life? If the answer is no, why are you giving them so much space? Remember, your mind isn't an Airbnb. You don't have to accept everyone who comes. Most people don't leave a mark. They mess things up, leave, and abandon you with that chaos. That's exactly why you need to learn to close that door. Because paradoxically, the moment you close that door, the real journey begins. The journey of living without depending on others. 11. Forgive, but do it for yourself. I apologize in advance, because the questions I'm about to ask might hurt a bit. Do you still think about the person who hurt you? Do you replay that moment, those words said, over and over in your head? Are you still having internal conversations thinking, I wish I'd said this? If your answer is yes, you're not alone. But peace is also far from you. And no one is saying forgiveness is easy, nor are we asking you to justify what happened. We're not telling you to forget. We're only offering this. Stop carrying a pain that no longer serves you. Starting to live for yourself. This is part of that too. Because giving someone spiritual control over you today, because years ago they did something to you, is punishing yourself a second time. If you're asking, why should I forgive? The answer is simple. The person who hurt you cannot control your soul unless you allow it. But when you keep that anger and pain alive every day, you're doing exactly that. You're still giving them space in your life. And if you're still not convinced, listen to psychologist Monica Gutierrez's words. Forgiveness is a special act that liberates not the forgiven, but the forgiver. Meaning, yes, the person you forgive might not even know it, but you will notice. Something inside you will lighten. Because forgiving isn't about fixing the past. It's the key to establishing peace today. So how's it done? First, set aside just half an hour for yourself. Close your door. Play soft music. Light a candle or dim the environment. Sit on the floor or the bed. Take paper and pen. Turn to yourself, not to screens. This means opening another space. When you're ready, start writing. Everything that's going through you. Who was that person? What happened? What did you feel? What broke you? What couldn't you say? What emotions were buried inside you? But don't stop there. Then write what this pain has cost you. How it's been a burden, how it's restricted your freedom, how it's shaped your life. And finally, write this sentence. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. When you finish writing, stay silent for a while. Then slowly tear that paper into pieces. Let each piece be a symbol that the connection is now broken. Burn it if you want, bury it, throw it in water. But let your body feel it too. It's over now. Please don't take this ritual lightly. This isn't a personal development activity. This is a real way to release that pressure in your chest. This is saving today, not the past. Because if you don't forgive, you stay stuck there. As if the video stopped, and at the worst frame, and no one is pressing play. And remember, some people don't even deserve your anger. The clearest answer you can give them is to say nothing and quietly forget. Closing. A bird born in a cage sees flying not as freedom, but as a threat. Because throughout its life, it believes whatever it has seen is real. Just like you before this video. Over time, you thought the chains that limited you were your character. You didn't build that cage, but you chose to stay in it. As Marcus Aurelius said, a person who scorns their own soul can never find happiness. And that's exactly why. Now notice the door of that cage. And step out. Because no one is coming to take you out of that cage anymore. No one's going to say, your turn now. Life won't change without your own permission. You're the only person who can open that door from the inside. And that key has always been in your hands. You just thought it was in someone else's.